Hey everybody, Shiny Sephiroth here with another Toy Room update video. And this one I am so excited to be sharing because I'm finally digging in to my DC Detolfs. Those are where the meat of my display collections are. I have different eras that I focus on. And so it's really fun to know that I'm going to be diving into that today. With that, I'm going to quickly go over which toys we'll be adding to the display today. Farland Toys 1966 version of the comic version that is but isn't the George Reeves Superman. This with the Fleischer Superman, it was how I was introduced to the character. Agent Liberty, Firestorm, Ambush Bug, Red Tornado, Animal Man, Wave Rider, modern post-Dawn of DC Wally West Flash. Adding this to my Batcave display. Commander Steel, Shining Knight, B-TAS Batman Beyond Terry McGinnis. Temporary substitute for Zatara, Silver Age Aquaman, Hawkman, Mr. Terrific. Finally opening up this bad boy. Keaton Batman, Kilmer Batman, Clooney Batman, Bale Batman, Batfleck, Pattinson's Batman. We also get all of these cool bat signals, these trading cards, and a bat signal itself. All right then, so let's get on to it. What we are going to be working on and fixing in today's display. First of all, my Golden Age display. Fixing up also my live action display, and it does creep on over there, but we're going to be focused on only what's on this Detolf. We have our post-Dawn of DC Justice League, as well as my alternate future timeline Justice League DC Superhero Girls display.
Without further ado.
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 We finally have it set up. So let's go ahead and just look really quickly. Like I said, we're doing one Detolf at a time like we did with Marvel. So we actually see that Detolf, we do get a little bit of the other part of this collection. So we'll start over here. So like I mentioned, we have these guys right here. I'm using this to represent the George Reeves Superman next to the Adam West Superman. And we have a little bit of a misnomer here in the Linda Carter Wonder Woman is kind of represented on both teams, but we have this no likeness Linda Carter comic Batman 1966 version of Wonder Woman that they did without Linda Carter's likeness. It doesn't even look like how she looks like in the comic, but she's here. And so, just to kind of fill a hole, she's left on here. Then we have kind of the 70s and 80s, I guess 90s bunch. And then, yeah, Ryan Reynolds. I liked the movie, to be honest. I liked the Green Lantern movie. But, yeah, so we have Christopher Reeve, Michael Keaton. We have the NECA, like I mentioned before in a previous video, the NECA Batman. We have the Mattel Flash and Wonder Woman. I guess that's technically Mattel too. I think that's Movie Master's line. Yeah, so we have those guys. Then we have over here the live action Batman from the movie 6-pack. I believe this one in the middle though is the Platinum from the, I think it was a Target exclusive. Yeah, so I got that one there. And then we got Kilmer and Clooney over here from the 6-pack. And then Pattinson and Batfleck from the 6-pack as well. And I don't know, they flesh everything out here. I really like how that turned out. And I'm thinking that behind them, in a more raised position, I'm wanting to do live action Superman if we ever get around to those. It'd be cool to have the Tyler Hoechlin, Dean Cain, one of the versions of Tom Welling up there, Brandon Routh. I do him in his Kingdom Come CW outfit. But yeah, just get all those guys in there too. It'd be really cool to have all that. But yeah, here's how that all set up. And here we have, just because we have a little bit more on this Detolf that we can talk about, we'll cut it off right there. The way I had to do it is kind of like, oh, it's the same pattern. We have a Superman, a Batman, and a Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, etc., etc. With these guys, the Batman of both the Smallville and overall Arrowverse used Green Arrow as their Batman. There's that Bat embargo that they've really loosened on over the past decade or so, continually. But back then, it was Batman was a no-no. It was really hard to get him. I mean, even in the finale of Gotham, we only got like a silhouette. We didn't really get too much of a real actual Batman. So I just thought it was funny. So we have that over there. We have our Superman. I would like to have a Tyler Hoechlin like flying behind Melissa Benoist's, that's her last name, Supergirl. And then we do have the Page Puncher Injustice 2 Batman. Because his suit kind of looks like, you look right here, there's some similarities between him and the season 11 comic Batman, who was alluded to in one of the later Smallville episodes, as well as a Wonder Woman.
You're not alone, Clark Kent. I have met several others like you. A billionaire with high-tech toys and a wondrous woman who is going to throw you for a loop.
So I put him here. I am going to custom him to make him look more like the Smallville comic Batman. Then we have the Mattel Rebirth Batwoman. She's up here because looks very similar, at least in my opinion, to the CW Batwoman. And then up there, because the CW had just such a massive roster to their Justice League. It's almost like they had their own Justice League Unlimited, like the DCAU. Got back here, Arsenal, Laurel Lance, Black Canary, Sarah Lance, White Canary. We also see some others that I believe they're starting to encroach on the other display. We'll do that in a different video. That's the top part of the display right here. Really excited with how that turned out. And I'm excited to share in future videos the rest of it. But right here, the JSA. Finally have this set up. Really happy. This is my JSA / Golden Age tribute portion of my display. It mostly stood the test of time, but there were some who didn't stand the test of time, as at the beginning of the video you saw that. We do see here the original Adam. He's actually taller than this in the toy form, but it's not to scale. He's supposed to be a short guy. There are some shorter guys out there, are short kings, and they had their representation. And in the original JSA, we had this version of Mr. Terrific. He was a gymnast. He was really small, but feisty, and he proved that it doesn't matter how tall you are, you can still be there with the big guys. So like I said, he's not to scale when they made the toy. So if you look right here, you can see I have him bent. He's got some tape under his feet. So I scrunched him down, and actually next to the Robin Earth 2 McFarlane figure helps make him even look shorter. That's perfect. And so yeah, always playing with scale. I know a lot of people don't like to mix scales, but I do, especially if they help complete a collection, and you can work with things and make illusions and move things around, and it ends up working. I really liked how that turned out. Things that I added to the display that weren't here beforehand were, like I said, the Earth 2 Golden Age Robin. I also added in the Platinum Mr. Terrific. This is his Dawn of DC or Infinite Frontiers, one of the two. They're basically the same Onward suit. But he also looked this way in most of his 90s JSA appearances, so yeah. Put in the Red Tornado. Got Commander Steel over here, and the female version, I'm not sure how you want to call it. He's kind of like Loki in the comics, and the fact that Loki can switch back and forth between genders. And I did not know this before reading her action figure card that came, but their original name is Yistin, and in modern dialect and in modern age, when he goes by the name of Justin, and you can see that in the really underrated Stargirl TV series. I was really bummed out that didn't keep going. Stargirl, Courtney Whitmore. But yeah, really love that show. Really wish that it kept going. But oh well. I really like a lot of Jeff Johns stuff, to be honest. But yeah, so apparently Yistin also went by Yistina. And I don't know if it's magic or whatnot that switches back and forth between the different bodies. But gender fluid, apparently, non-binary, I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm not, like I said, the first introduction I had to the 7 Warriors of Fortune, I think that's what they're called. The 7 Soldiers of Victory. Okay, I just looked at the box. The 7 was through the CW TV show. Hopefully someday we'll also get the male version. We can put them side by side. But yeah, so really happy with the JSA display. And now we go down to mentioning Infinite Frontiers. I went ahead and I coupled Infinite Frontiers and Dawn of DC together into one display, partially because of space. I'm just running out of space. It's insanity. But Also because there's hardly any change or these crisis events and reboot events, they aren't doing massive reboots like we saw with Rebirth or New 52 or Infinite Crisis or anything like that. It's I don't know. For me, everything past Death Metal is the same status quo. Getting rid of the whole Dr. Manhattan influence, and they're all basically the same. So for me, I keep it this way. So the only new thing I added to this display was the Infinite Frontier Wally West, which I'm really happy to do because now it's a lot more fleshed out. Who I am missing, I would like Hippolyta, since she was a part of the Infinite Frontier Justice League. I don't know if... I know she died, but I don't know if they ever did their usual soap opera thing, and like, oh, but she's actually alive because of this. I don't know. And I don't know, like Alfred. I don't know if Alfred has ever been brought back. If not, I'm actually kind of shocked that they would keep his death that permanent for this many years. But, you know, everything's eventual. Yeah, so you can see back here, I also have a kit bash of the Jonathan Kent aged up Bendis Superboy, Superman. I think he's Superman at this point. It's the New 52 Earth 2 Superman head and future state Jonathan Kent body. For those of you who don't know, at one point the Justice League quote unquote died, but the only person who believed that they were still alive was Nightwing, who was hilarious. He said something along the lines of, yeah, I mean, like, they're dead, but you know they're not really dead. They always come back. And if you're like, how dare you say that? And he was like, he legit didn't even bother. He was like, no, they'll be back. They always do. It's fine, whatever. It kind of made me wonder if that was the author, like, really maybe upset that he was forced to, when he took on the reins of that storyline. He was like, yeah, but like the readers aren't going to buy it. Everybody knows they're coming back. And so that was maybe the writer inserting that opinion. But anyway, so like some of you might be wondering like, oh, what's going on here? Well, why are these people here? So when the Justice League died during the Dark Crisis event, John Kent Superboy became the new leader of the Justice League. And that was, in my opinion, it was the editorial decision to do that as a transition into the experiment that they did, and it didn't last long if I recall correctly, wherein there was no Justice League and the Teen Titans were the de facto Justice League. And so I think that putting Nightwing in charge of his own Justice League was part of that like transition, which is clever. I think it's clever. And they were also using remnants of the 5G event, and we'll have a video on 5G later. Yeah, so they had the remnants of the 5G event that were still percolating around from Didio's campaign, which led to this caped Superman, Jonathan Kent Superman, led to Jackson Hyde being in the Justice League. Mentioning Future State and 5G and whatnot. So just a quick history lesson. Dan Didio did the New 52. Completely uprooting everything and starting fresh just because it causes controversy and everything, and then New 52 didn't do well. And, you know, lessons learned or not, Dan DiDio decided to do it again with 5G. And, I mean, I don't know. You for those of you who are a little bit younger, you might not remember when cell phone service started launching with 5G internet. And I want to do, like I said earlier, I want to do a whole video on 5G, but just as a brief summary, AT&T bought Warner, who was in charge of DC. And so this was never outright stated, but for me, the writing is on the wall. As a clever tie-in to the fact that AT&T owns them, Dan DiDio created the 5G event, and he was building up toward that, which directly interfered with Jeff Johns being brought back onto the team, but not in his creative role, which interfered with Doomsday Clock and the things that he was trying to wrap up and bring back together that he started with Rebirth, which brought me back into comics. And then so Dan DiDio is doing this whole 5G thing, which is basically eliminating the status quo Justice League and replacing them with these guys right here. And that's why you see Jackson Hyde in this version right here. We have the Jace Fox, Future State Batman. We have Bruce Wayne without money running around, and we have this version of Jonathan Kent who's all angry and whatnot. So we have this Gladiator Superman, and it was just it was a thing, you know. Anyway, that's that. Future state. This is a future and alternate timeline shelf display. So we have here, the reason I have 3 Batman Beyonds here is because this one right here up front, to me, represents the animated universe, kind of. There were 2 different, maybe even 3, depending on how you look at it, Batman Beyond lines that were made. And so the first one that they made was a separate comic universe that is based off of the DC animated universe. Most of the past of this Terry McGinnis coincided with the past lore of the BTAS universe, but then it branched off and it did its own thing. And then these 2, Terry McGinnis, Batman Beyond, represent what started as the Future's End timeline. And so Tim Drake is sent back in time, and shenanigans happen, and Terry McGinnis dies and whatnot, and he takes over, and he becomes the new Batman. So we have Tim Drake as Batman. And then in the last New 52 Batman Beyond issue, Tim Drake walks off literally into the sunset, and he's zapped away. The author wanted to save him, but we never saw Future's End Tim Drake again, as far as I know. And it really, really, really looked like he was zapped away, and he was zapped away by Mr. Oz, who ended up being Jor-El, who was time displaced by Dr. Manhattan. And I'm still a little ticked off that we never got an ending to that Tim Drake storyline. And I hope someday in the future somebody follows through with that. But anyway, so this one here for me represents the Tim Drake Batman Beyond, and then we have the Rebirth Terry McGinnis. Not to be confused with this one led to this Terry McGinnis. So the one that came in the Justice Lords pack. So yeah, Batman Beyond comics, a little bit more complicated than you thought. And then finally, the DC Superhero Girls line of toys. My daughters were really into this cartoon, when both versions of the cartoon. There was the web series, and then we had this one that came out. And I watched a few episodes of this one, Matt. I thought it was pretty cool. I liked it. I thought it was fun to watch. So yeah, watched that with my kids. Well, the web series was a lot more tame than the one that was on Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network's a bit more absurdist humor, and this one was a lot more, like I said, tame. We also have some, was it Amekame? I think that's what they're called. So some animated comics that were based on anime. And so I have some figures from that line as well. And so let's go ahead and pan up. And this is, let's zoom out. And this is what it looks like so far with Detolf number 1 completed. So there you have it. Super happy that we were able to get the first Detolf of the DC Universe display done. It didn't take as much work as I thought it did. So I'm really excited about filling out a lot of the holes and gaps I've had in my display for a while, as well as setting things back up. The top part of my display, which is the live action Justice League and whatnot, that's all done. I have to make sure that the first Detolf made sense. I had to do all of them. So they're all complete, and we'll be showing snippets of it as we move forward. And yeah, so the next thing I'm going to dive into is I have a double Detolf that I made myself, and I'll talk about it in the next video. But yeah, that one's going to be really fun to go over as well, and really fun to open up some of these boxes and move around some display pieces. But with that, thank you all so much for being a part of this channel, for your patronage over here visiting us at the Retroverse Nexus. Please let me know down in the comments how your displays, how you set up your stuff. Do you have a separate Golden Age display, and do you categorize them by era like I'm doing, or do you just kind of have one display? And maybe I see a lot of people do this, like, oh, this is my definitive Superman, this is my definitive Wonder Woman, and I have one display for my definitive Justice League. I don't know, I wouldn't say a historian, but it kind of feels that way sometimes. I like having snapshots of different points in the DC Comics history. But that's just me. I'm really excited to hear in the comments how you guys do your display. But with that, thank you all. Make sure to leave those comments also to be enrolled in giveaways, and I'll see you in the next video. And 5G. You fell and now you're good.